No.
Yeah.
Game. Maryam is playing board game. Okay. We have the screen online.
Yeah, I hear her. What?
I'll mute my mic.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the series Ignite Learning through Webinars. This was launched by Division C, District Training, and this has been a truly unique learning opportunity for all of us. It's been a brilliant, brilliant session. And we are
Is it on for you?
Today's topic is how to handle impromptu thinking and speaking. And this is being presented to us through a millennial. Well, she likes being called millennial, but I checked with her. But this lady has bringing us set, and she's all charged up. And
Mic is working.
we have to say that some of the things that she will be covering today is
No,
mental
not here.
exercises for quick wit, games to focus on, speed and idea generation. and
Everybody's saying the same
structured
thing.
thinking.
Everybody's
So
saying
without
this.
further ado, I'd like to welcome Maryam Haji, how to handle impromptu thinking and speaking. Over to you.
Hello. Hi, can you hear me, everyone? Thumbs up if you can hear me. Mic is off.
Yeah, we can hear you. Please go ahead. Your line is clear. Please go ahead.
Okay, they can hear me. All right, hello. Good evening, everyone. How are you guys doing? I'm here today to talk to you about how to handle impromptu thinking and speaking. Now, as Toastmasters, we all know impromptu speaking as table topics, but there is so much more to it than just that. For me personally, I learned about impromptu speaking as a child. I learned about it because I was a very annoying kid that would always lecture people. So whenever anybody would come up to me with a problem or they would do something that I thought was stupid, I would sit there and I would come up with this whole huge lecture and tell them off. You need to do this, you need to do that, you should be behaving better. And I'd give advice to people without them asking for it. And that taught me to think on the spot. So whenever I was in any situation, anything that came up, I could always speak about it. And that is what impromptu speaking is all about. It doesn't matter if it's a proper speech standing on stage. It doesn't matter where or how you are doing it. What matters is that you are thinking in the moment. Now, as I grew older, I learned more about impromptu speaking by being in a company, working in a company called Mad Science. Now, this company would put on science shows for children. And because I was a lazy procrastinator, I would never prepare for these shows that I had to do. So I would have to put on a show that was like 30 minutes long, 30 minutes to an hour. And the kids would be sitting there staring at me, and I would not be prepared at all. So 5 minutes before the show goes on, I would read the script that they give us and just go through the script really quickly. And then I would just stand there and I would do a 30 to 60-minute show just off the top of my head. Now, I don't recommend people do this because it was a job and a paying job, but it did teach me how to be able to engage my audience with content that I created literally in that moment. Impromptu thinking and speaking is something that you develop over time. It's not something that you are born with. The more you practice it, the more you work on it, the more effort you put into it, the better you will get at it. So, the question of the evening: how to handle impromptu thinking and speaking. First of all, what are impromptu speeches? Like I told you, they are about talking with no preparation. So you just talk on the spot, no preparation whatsoever, and it doesn't have to be a speech. Impromptu speech is speaking happens in every life scenario you can think of, whether it's table topics and Toastmasters, whether it's a toast at a celebration, whether it's during a job interview. When you're in a job interview, when they're asking you questions, talk about yourself, that's the equivalent of a speech. And if you are able to come up with an impromptu speech in the moment and speak properly, then you're more likely to get the interviewer's attention. Business meetings, when you're having a meeting and points are being discussed, if you are the presenter, then yes, you have prepared. But if you're a contributor, if you're a team member, and you're sitting there and they tell you something that you don't like, or you want to discuss an idea, you want to debate a topic, any kind of situation in a meeting, you would need to be able to, on the spot, organize your thoughts into a semblance of a speech. The more organized the way you speak is, the more likely you are to get people to listen to you. Another important impromptu speech, sorry, is conversations. Conversations are at the heart of impromptu speaking. When you stand up to a complete stranger and you have to introduce yourself, then what you are doing is you are preparing a speech. There is small talk where you're asking questions and getting pausing so that you hear answers, and then you have to answer back. You have to talk about yourself, talk about your life, tell stories, share events. All of these things are better done with proper learning of impromptu speeches. Now, personally speaking, I'm not a very social person. Who am I kidding? I'm not social at all. And because of my lack of, and when I say I'm not social, I just mean that I'm not good at small talks. I'm not good at going up to complete strangers and talking to them. I'm not good at having conversations with people. And one of the main things that improved with Toastmasters is my ability to have conversations with human beings, normal conversations, because I learned table topics. Table topics helped me be able to actually communicate with people better, speak to them, have decent conversations with them, and be able to actually speak my mind in an organized way and to think on the spot of things to say. Because my issue when back in the day when I could not talk to people was I couldn't think of what to say. So when I developed my table topics ability, even though for table topics they give you the topic and you have to talk about it, but you're still utilizing all of your mind's energy into coming up with things to say. And that practice, it helped me in conversations so that now I am kind of almost halfway there to being social. To being social. Sorry. Now, what is the difference between impromptu speaking and impromptu thinking? Impromptu thinking obviously happens before the actual speaking. So, for example, the thinking part, it's all about having quick wit. Quick wit is being able to answer something really quickly. So instead of freezing for a while, if I ask you a question talk about yourself and you freeze, quick wit would allow you to speak in the moment quickly and you come up with something really good to say in the moment really fast. Quick wit also helps you when you're having an argument. So, for example, if you are fighting with someone or having an argument, when after an argument you sit at home and you remember, and you sit at home and you remember and you think to yourself, oh, I wish I said this, I wish I said that. Quick wit is what allows you to say all of the things you wished you could have said in the moment, right then and there, because you're able to think really fast and come up with good things to say. Impromptu thinking is also about forming ideas. When it comes to speaking your mind, you need the content. You need what to say, how to say it. All of that happens with impromptu thinking. If you're only developing your ability to speak out loud, then you're not really developing your impromptu speaking properly, because it starts with the thinking. You need to be able to come up with a good idea to speak about. You need to be able to take that good idea and organize it and structure it into an actual speech so that it is something that people can follow, so that it has a logical development from a beginning all the way through to an end. If you have ideas randomly through in your head and you just say things, yes, thinking, speaking, ideas, good, no matter what the content is, if it's not organized, if it is not structured, it does not matter. So develop your impromptu thinking is the first phase. It is what you work on, what you practice, what you develop in the beginning before you move on to working on your impromptu speaking. Impromptu speaking is the performance. So it is everything that is on the outside that happen, that it's what people will actually be able to hear and see you do as you're standing on stage or in the moment in the meeting or during a conversation. So it is your facial expression, it is your stage movement, it is your body language and your voice. All of these things, they are outside traits that you need to work on and improve, and then you link the two together. Whatever you thought of, your content, your ideas, your organization, and structure, those will be translated through your performance. Your voice will bring alive your ideas. Your body language will create a visual image of the things that were inside your head. Your ability to move on stage impromptu, in the moment, to align your stage movement with your content and to align your facial expression and your voice, that is what separates a really good speaker from someone who's just talking at an audience. And why is impromptu important? Because it is a mental exercise. Here's what people do not realize. When you want to get good at something, then you need to practice something that is better than whatever you're trying to get good at. What does that mean? Let me give you an example. Let's say that you want to be able to carry 30 kilos, okay, and walk for 1 kilometer carrying those 30 kilos without breaking a sweat. If you practice on the 30 kilos walking 1 kilometer, then it will take you twice or three times longer of practice time to be able to get to that point where you're able to do it without breaking a sweat. But if you were to practice carrying 50 kilos for that 1 kilometer, then you are developing your muscles to be stronger and better so that you are able to actually, when you're carrying the 30 kilos, you're used to 50. So now 30 is super easy for you and you're able to do it without breaking a sweat. The same thing is true of speaking. If you want to develop your public speaking abilities, if you want to develop your wit, your communication, your quick thinking, if you want to develop your ability to formulate and deliver a really good prepared speech, then you need to exercise your mind by learning impromptu speeches. Because impromptu speeches are the most difficult to master, because they're something you're not prepared. You're given a topic that you could either know something about or you could know absolutely nothing about. So in that moment, you have to not only organize your thoughts, but come up with a good idea. And you need to have forethought. So you need to have, while you're formulating your beginning, you need to know where you're headed. You need to know about your ending. So that is the equivalent of a mental exercise. A mental exercise that is improving your ability to think about multiple things at the same time. So instead of just thinking about the speech that you wrote, that you memorized, Now, because of impromptu speaking, you are thinking about multiple different things. You're thinking about your content, you're thinking about your ending while you're speaking about your beginning. You're thinking about your audience. Do they like this? Do they hate this? Are they connected with me? You're thinking about your body, you're thinking about your face. And all of that, it it exercises your mind to the point where speaking becomes so natural that you are able to do it literally anytime, anywhere, and deliver a striking speech. Doesn't matter, preparation, no preparation, you're literally always prepared. Impromptu speaking and thinking are important because they develop your wit, they develop your ability to communicate with people, they develop your ability to have quick thinking. And let's be honest, we're talking about wit, we're talking about communication, we're talking about quick thinking. Do these things only matter in public speaking or in Toastmasters? Or are these skills that you need in your general life? Are these things that would help you in everyday life? It would help you talk to your spouse. It will help you talk to your children. It will help you with your schoolwork. It will help you with literally everything because you are improving your ability to think. And when you improve your mind, when you work on improving the inside of your head, then you are indirectly working on improving your personality, on improving your life, and therefore improving your future. Now we get to the important part. How do you improve your impromptu thinking? Now, there are a lot of elements when it comes to impromptu thinking. The first of which is speed. It is very important for you to be able to quickly think about something. So if you have a scattered mind, if you're not able to concentrate or focus, then you won't be able to think about something really fast. So how do you actually improve that? It's very simple. You play games. Now, I know this seems insane and what is Maryam even saying, but trust me, there are certain games that get you in the moment because it's a competitive nature to have to tap into your mind and think of things to say on the spot really fast because they're timed. So games like Taboo, like charades or Sharoodles or Pictionary or any of these games, they allow you to think really fast, and with time they improve your ability to come up with things to say. Just that, come up with things to say really fast. So let me talk to you about the games for a bit. Taboo is my favorite for developing speed of thinking because Taboo helps you whether you're the one talking or you're the one illustrating to people, or whether you're the one who's giving answers. So the way the game works is you get these cards and the card has a word on top. So for example, movie. Okay, and then you need to speak about movies in a way to get the person in front of you, your teammate, to guess the word movies. But there's a list of words that you can't use. So you can't use the word film, you can't use the word cinema, you can't use the word actors or acting. Okay? So you're limited in the way that you can illustrate the word. So you have to, in the moment, you're timed, you have 60 seconds to get people to guess as many words as you can. So because of the time element, you have to really quickly be able to think of things to say to get people to guess the word movies. So you can't say actors, you can't say cinema, you can't say film, so you can say, or you can't say TV, for example. So you can say it is something that has moving pictures and you watch it on a screen, and then the person in front of you would have to quickly think of something to say and they would come up with the word movies or any other word until they guess correctly. And you keep switching cards for the however much time you have. So you're basically talking. You're delivering speeches that are seconds long, but these seconds long are teaching you to think in different ways. So instead of describing something directly as you normally would, no, you have to exercise your mind and think in other convoluted ways. You have to think from the side, okay, how do I get the person in front of me to guess this word? And movies is a very simple word. Usually they're a bit more complicated. So that's for taboo. Charades is a very good idea because it develops your body language as well. So whether you're the one getting people to guess or whether you're the one guessing, you're again developing speed of thinking, of being able to relate something visual to something, to words that you can say out loud. Pictionary, kind of the same concept. You're just drawing out things and people have to guess them. There are other games as well that you could try. There's a game that we play here in Bahrain. It's an Arabic game. I don't know if you guys know it, where we basically have 5 categories. So we have names, we have plants, animals, countries. Saira's nodding her head here, so I'm guessing you guys play this game as well. And then you scream out a letter, and then you have to fill in all of these categories. So you have to come up with a name that starts with that letter. So with the letter L, a name, a plant, an animal, a country, and an inanimate object. So that teaches your mind again, and whoever finishes first yells out stop, and then you calculate the marks of how many you got and how many of them were unique. So if I were to write the name John and somebody else also wrote the name John, I would get half points only. So it encourages your mind to think creatively. It encourages you to think really fast. Games in general are the best way that you can improve the speed of your thinking because let's be honest, we all have a bit of a competitive nature, and that competitive nature can be your friend when it comes to improving your mind. Moving on to the second step, organization. When it comes to your mind, the more organized the way you think is, the better the outcome, whatever it is. It doesn't matter speaking, it doesn't matter what area. In general, the more organized the way you speak is, the way you think is, you'll be able to have a better outcome. Now, how do you go about organizing the inside of your head? I don't know about you guys, but in my head, there are like a lot of voices and a lot of pictures, and it's very, very disorganized. You have 2 ways of going about this, okay? You could either think in terms only of public speaking, so organizing your mind only for the stage, or you could think in terms of organizing your mind in general. Now, personally, I have tried and failed at organizing my mind in general, okay? It is possible, but I have a very hyperactive mind, so it's very difficult for me, okay? But it involves a lot of introspection. So it involves a lot of thinking within your own head and kind of subdividing and grouping your thoughts together. It involves meditating, being able to quiet your mind long enough for everything to kind of settle into its place. Let's look at the other end of it, organizing your mind for the stage. Now, this is easier. How is it easier? Because all you need is a plan. So let's say you know that you have a table topics contest, okay? You can go about it by having a mind map. Now, a mind map doesn't mean that it's limited. It doesn't mean that I'm going to talk about I'm going to repeat the question that they ask me, and then I am going to talk about this part of it, and then this. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't have to be specific. A mind map can be something very wide and generalized. So wide and generalized, for example, you would say, okay, once I have a thought or an idea, my mind map would go something like, I need an introduction, so I need a hook. That's the first thing I think of. I need a hook. I need to start this off strong. So once I get my hook, I know that the second step that comes after that, I want to find some kind of personal story or something that will relate my hook or the topic to myself personally. Okay, and then once I have that, then I move towards linking my hook to my personal story. And then I think of, okay, I need something strong to end with. So it's very generalized, it's very wide, but it is a map. So that when you're standing on stage, you know how to think. They give you your topic, okay, hook, done. Personal story, done. Link, done. Conclusion, good. We're good to go. It's better than standing there and they give you a topic and you're like, oh, what do I do now? Okay, what do I say? Maybe I'll talk about this, maybe I'll say this. And you're wasting so much mental energy getting organized on the stage instead of just having a clear path that you go according to. Another way is structured thinking. Structured thinking is more specific than a mind map. So you have categories. So for example, you get a topic when you're standing on stage. So you think, okay, I'm going to start with general. I'm going to start general. Okay, so my first thought is to come up with something generalized linked to the topic they just asked me about. So I go big. So for example, they asked me about, I don't know, plastic recycling. Okay, so recycling plastic. So I think I have to talk general. So I'm going to start with talking about the environment. And then I'm going to move a bit more specific. So I'm going to talk about plastic and how it is harming our environment. And then I'm going to tackle the exact part of the that they asked me about. So I'll talk about recycling. And then finally, I'm going to summarize everything that I already said. And I'm going to leave them with a call for action about the about the recycling plastic. So structured thinking is a bit more specific. A mind map is just a generalized idea, kind of like a guide. A mind map is literally a road. A structured thinking is more of having groups of objects around you and you just fill in the blank. So this is my topic. I'm going to fill in the blank with this, generalized, this, that. Mind map is more open-ended. And then which one you use depends on you. What do you like? What is easier for you? How does your brain work? Structured thinking does not work for me at all, for example. On the other hand, mind maps work really well for me because I'm able to follow roads and guidelines really easily. So it just depends on the way that your brain thinks. You can try them out. So try out different mind maps, try out different structures, and then practice. See which one works better for you and go with that, or even do a blend of the two. You're the master of your own mind. Do whatever feels right for you and whatever is easier for you. Then comes ideas and creativity. Now, you're able to think really fast? Check. Okay. Are you able to organize your thoughts? Check. What are you organizing? When it comes down to it, what are you going to talk about? Because usually topics are very general. So, what am I going to say? If I'm having a conversation with someone and they ask me about some kind of new topic or anything that I don't know about, I need to come up with an idea. I need to be creative. I need to be able to speak, to come up with something to say. And the way that you do that, again, is the same concept, mental exercise. You need to train your mind and fill it with actual good practical material. If you are constantly spending your time doing nothing or constantly spending your time, I don't know, playing games or I don't know, I don't want to offend anyone. Okay, you're just doing something that is useless. Okay, then you're not really improving your mind, you're not really improving your thinking, you're not getting any material. The way for you to be able to come up with ideas, to be creative, is by getting material into your head. So how? Reading. Reading the newspapers. Do people still read newspapers? I don't think they do. Reading the news online. Okay. Doing research about different topics. So you hear someone talking about something that you completely have no idea about. Don't just disregard it. Take that topic, go home, Google it really quickly. It'll only take a couple of minutes, and you'll learn something new. Don't disregard things that you don't know. Always find opportunities to research new topics, and you get material from around you all the time. For example, when I'm reading, if I come across something that I'm not familiar with, I'll stop reading, I'll Google it, I'll figure out what it is. And this is a form of research. This is enriching my mind constantly, filling me with thoughts, giving me material that I can use whenever I have to speak to people. Another way to get ideas and be creative is by watching shows, watching movies, and watching the people around you. We are constantly surrounded with unique experiences, be those experiences that are stories in TV shows or movies, be those experiences of the people around us. If you are paying attention, if you listen and look at the people around you, if you watch the way they behave, if you watch their lives, then you're just supplying your mind with material that you wouldn't have otherwise. At the end of the day, you are one person. Your experiences are limited to you. But when you expose yourself to other people's experiences, when you expose yourself to other people's stories through shows and movies, then you are enriching your mind with so much more, an unlimited amount of knowledge, experience, and material that you would not have otherwise. The same goes with listening. It doesn't matter if there are so many people around you with great life experiences and they talk about great things when you're not listening. Listening is very essential when it comes to thinking, speaking, when it comes to anything in general. Listening is the first step in understanding. You cannot understand without listening. You cannot get new material, new people without listening properly. And note the use of the word listening. If you're just hearing the things that are happening around you without registering them, then you're not really locking anything in. You need to pay attention, watch, look, listen. That way you are constantly, even when you're not really consciously wanting to improve your thinking, you are improving your thinking just by paying attention, taking in the things that are happening around you. All of those experiences, they get soaked into your mind and they enrich you to the point where you have so many ideas and you can get so creative. If you can't think of a personal story to share, you're going to think of somebody else's story to share. If you can't think of an experience that is relevant, you're going to talk about something that you saw in a movie or a show and tell that story. It's all about paying attention to your environment. Lastly, contemplation. Do you guys ever get that feeling where you're just going through life and things are just happening so fast around you and you're just moving with the times, doing this, doing that, constantly moving with the times, and you're so busy that you forget to look inside your own mind? You forget to listen to your own thoughts. You forget to think, how am I feeling? What am I thinking about? What is going on in my life? How are all of these things that are happening in my life affecting me? How should I behave? What should I do? These experiences, these things that I'm doing, all of these actions, how are they being sorted into my mind, into memories? Oftentimes we forget that self-contemplation, thinking, actively sitting and thinking with your mind about yourself and about your life is a form of exercising your mind. It's a form of reminding yourself of all of your experiences. So if I'm the type of person that never thinks about my past, and I'm put in a situation where I am required for some reason or another to speak about past experiences, then I wouldn't be able to come up with ideas and be creative with them on the spot easily, because this is all information that's literally gathering dust in a corner of your mind that you do not use or access. So your mind tells you this is not important. You're searching for something, I'll find something from today or yesterday. It doesn't access that part of your mind because you didn't teach your brain that part of it is important. So contemplation, just taking some time out of your busy life, half an hour a day, just to contemplate. Just think of your experiences. Think of the stories of the things that are happening to you. Think of how you would share or tell people these things that are happening to you. So think of all of these experiences And when you do that, then you bring them to the forefront of your mind. And if they're in the forefront of your mind, whenever you need ideas, whenever you need to get creative, it's on the spot. You can immediately think of something to say, and that allows you to be more creative. How to improve your impromptu speaking, not your impromptu thinking. You can do that by improving your impromptu thinking. The thinking is the first phase of it. It is where it all begins. If the inside of your brain cannot think impromptu, then you cannot speak. You cannot, you don't have the content for it. Even if you're such a skilled speaker, you control your voice so well, you have an awesome vocal range, your modulation and variety is amazing, your stage movement is on the spot, is on the dot, but you don't have a good content, then what's all of that for? It's just show, it's just performance with no content, with no heart to it. So you need to improve your impromptu thinking first. That's the first step that you do. Then once you've got that down, once that's developed and improved, then you can move on to improving your actual speaking. Second thing, sorry, when it comes to impromptu speaking, language. Now, for the most part, in this part of the world, we are speaking English as a second language. So if you are in situations where you have to speak in English, so or in any second language, not your mother tongue, then you need to develop that language. Using better words, improving your vocabulary, improving your grammar, improving your pronunciation so that the way you speak is clearer. These are essential parts of speaking in general, be it impromptu or prepared speaking. The only difference is when you're preparing for a speech, you get to practice it. You get to use your dictionary, you get to find synonyms, you get to change the words around, learn how to pronounce all of these words, practice the pronunciation, practice the grammar, have someone double check it for you. But impromptu, you don't have that luxury. You either can speak properly, have good, strong language, or you can't. And if you can't, you don't have that strong language, then you can still deliver a good impromptu speech, but the quality of the speech is not going to be as strong as it is with language. I I've been speaking in Toastmasters for a while now, and there are places where I go where they literally tell me that you're like they leave the whole entire speech and they just focus on one thing. Your language, your English is really good. So that's something that captures people's attention and it allows them to listen to you more comfortably. If while they're listening to you, they're thinking of your grammar or they're thinking of the fact that they don't, or they're trying to decipher what you're saying because your words, your pronunciation is not very clear, then you're taking away from your speech. You want them focused 1000% on what you are saying, not how you are saying it, not focusing on deciphering, on understanding you, thinking, or you move on and they're still thinking about the word you said 2 sentences ago because they didn't know what it was. And you improve your language, two things: speaking and reading. I okay, you've been listening to my English this whole time. I went to public school. I started learning English in the 4th grade. My English is the product of a lot of personal effort. And that personal effort is in the form of 3 things. Reading. So I read a lot and that's where my vocabulary came from and how it improved, and my grammar. And then from watching movies and TV shows with no subtitles. When you switch off the subtitles, you are forced to listen very carefully and you pick up the pronunciation better than if you were looking at the subtitles. And third, practice. I speak English so often and so much, and I practice it so much, be it in Toastmasters, be it in college, be it with some of my friends. I have friends from Oman, and we have a bit of a dialect barrier. So we speak English because it's easier. And that practice just improves the accent, improves the pronunciation, the grammar. So use your language. Don't just let it be something that you resort to when you have to. If you speak a language, whether it's English or any other language, always try to practice it. The more you speak it, the better it's going to be. Improve and enrich your vocabulary with reading. Improve and enrich your pronunciation with listening to words being spoken properly. The second aspect of improving impromptu speaking is practicing movement. Now, it's not easy to move properly and divide the stage when you're speaking and all of that when you're not prepared beforehand. So usually with impromptu speaking, you're coming up with the speech as you're going. So you don't have a clear structure where you're going to divide the stage easily. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So the way that you can kind of bypass this problem is by practicing movement in general with every switch. So if you started your speech with your introduction, start in one spot, and then you're switching now to your body or to a different section of your speech, change where you're standing. Again, your content is developing to a point where you're going to switch where you're standing. And do this, it won't be easy in the beginning. It's something that you have to kind of work on to get there. Okay, but the more that you do it, the easier it's going to get. So and you can practice it even in your prepared speeches. So in your prepared speeches, don't divide up the stage and practice movement on the spot. Kind of program yourself. I'm switching, so I'm going to move. I'm switching, so I'm going to move. And that kind of builds it into you so that when you're doing an impromptu speech, you're able to kind of access that information and switch with every move with every switch. Practicing vocal control through prepared speeches. When you practice your vocal control, the way that your voice moves with your content, then it becomes second nature that you can use in your impromptu speeches as well. Keep your face natural. A lot of the times you see like people that are doing table topics or doing impromptu speeches or having conversations, they're so focused on their face that it just looks very structured and abnormal. And that kind of really takes away from your performance, because if you're like, you can't see my face, but if you want to be happy and you're doing like a big smile with your face, that doesn't say that you're happy. It says that you are making your face look like it's happy. You know, it's a very big movement. Smaller, natural expressions, those are the ones that bring across emotion and feeling because they're real. If you are present within your speech, if you are one with the content you are speaking, if you are focused on what you're saying, you don't have to act with your face. You can just keep your face natural and your face will follow your content. But if you're doing it mechanically and you're thinking, okay, my face, I need to smile now, I need to frown now, it's going to look very mechanical, very unreal. No one is going to connect to you. So just keep your face natural, focus more on your content, on what you're saying, and your face is going to naturally follow that. Keep it natural and neutral, and it will just go with the flow. Now that was stuff that you could do before your speech. During your speech, so now we're going to talk about table topics, okay? So during your speech, let's say you get called on stage, okay? They announce your name. As you're standing on the side of the stage, take a moment to clear your mind. So stop thinking. Stop thinking about the contest. Stop thinking about your name, about what they're saying, about the audience. Just take a moment to clear your mind and accept nervousness. A lot of people, especially if they're not veterans, they're not used to public speaking, they're going to focus on the nervousness and try to fight it. And the human brain does not work in negative. If you say, I don't want to be nervous, all your brain hears is, I'm nervous. So just accept the nervousness. The nervousness is a good thing. It means you have adrenaline coursing through your veins. It means you're going to be able to think faster. So accept the nervousness, be fine with it, be okay with it, walk to the stage with confidence. A lot of people neglect the part before you actually start speaking. But that part is very important because it gives a subconscious message to your audience, to the judges. Okay, this person knows what they're doing. And just that part where they think that, it makes them more receptive to what you're going to say. And then when you stand there, smile at your audience. I know you're thinking about the contest. I know you're thinking about the speech. I know. Just smile at them. Give them a smile. That, again, subconscious message. Okay, that person is confident. They know what they're doing. After that smile, what I usually do is I just take a deep breath, sorry, and then I stop making eye contact. If you're looking at people's eyes, at people's expressions in the audience, then you're distracted with what is on their faces. So stop making eye contact. So look at people's shoulders. Okay, shoulders are very neutral. They're not going to distract you. So just look at people's shoulders, look right above their head. It will look like you're making eye contact because you're far away, but you're not actually making eye contact. That will distract you. And then they're going to give you your topic. And what do? You listen. A lot of the times they start giving you your topic, and what do? The moment they say it, legendary leaders, and your brain goes like, leaders, okay, I'm going to think about this, I'm going to talk about this. Okay, the rest of the topic. What happens to that? Just stop yourself from thinking until you hear both repetitions of the topic. Listen carefully. I remember in 2018, I was competing at the division level, and they gave me the topic, and until this day, I don't remember what the topic was. I heard the word learning, experience, something like that, and that's it. And then my brain just ran away thinking of what to say. And I realized as I was speaking, I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea what the topic was. And I was just scrambling, trying to connect things together. I'm like, please let it be connected to whatever the topic was, because I had no idea what I was supposed to say. Because I did not listen. If you listen, you're going to remember the topic. It'll be easier for you to direct everything, at least if not towards it, at least around it or related to it. Then a lot of people, when they hear the topics announced, they immediately start talking or they do something, and then their time starts. Why do that? Just take a couple of seconds, 10 seconds, just look anywhere but at the people in front of you. Think about the topic, get into your mind map or get into your structure. Try to fill in the blanks. Try to think of things to say. Take a few moments and sort the content, sort the ideas into a speech. You're delivering a speech. You're not just talking at people. Okay? And then finally, you have to act. Now, no, but you forget sometimes when you're standing on stage that people don't know what is going on inside your head. They have no idea what is happening inside your head. All they know is what they see. All they hear is what you say out loud. So it doesn't matter if inside your brain you're panicking. It doesn't matter if you're freaking out. It doesn't matter if you have no idea what you are saying. If you're just speaking on autopilot, nobody will know as long as you pretend and you act like you know what you're talking about. You're putting on a show. You're not just speaking, you are putting on a show. So you act and you pretend for all you are worth. And that will help you get a better performance. My final advice to you, when it comes to table topics, when it comes to impromptu speaking in general, think of it as a speech. It is not just you talking. Don't talk randomly. Don't talk in a messy way. Structure it, organize it. You have to have a beginning and a body and an ending. You have to leave people with something. It has to follow some kind of rational order, or else people will not remember what you're saying. They'll be like, wait, what did they say? You want to leave people with something. Think of it as a speech. Organize it that way. Use your own style. A lot of people they come to me, they ask me, what do you do for table topics? What do you do? Use your own style, because what I do might not work for you. And finally, practice. Practice impromptu speaking. Okay, practice impromptu speaking as much as you possibly can. Personally, I practice literally whenever I'm not doing anything that uses my brain. I'm using my brain to practice with table topics. So if I'm cleaning, if I am cooking, if I am walking around, if I'm driving, I'm constantly practicing. I give myself a topic and then I just talk about it until I bore myself to death. So I'm constantly practicing. Sometimes in my CC manual, I used to do this. From project 7 on to project 10, I did not practice my speeches. I would just give myself a topic, go deliver a 5 to 7 minute impromptu speech as practice for table topics, because I knew I was competing in contests afterwards and I wanted to practice that skill. So just use any opportunity you have to practice your impromptu speaking. The more you practice it, the easier it becomes, the more natural it becomes, and the better you get at it. And that concludes what I have to present to you. If you guys have any questions, please, we have 10 minutes for questions, so go ahead. Guys, we have 10 minutes to ask questions. If anybody has anything they want to know more about, please feel free to ask. Thank you guys for your comments. They're very nice stuff that you're writing in. Okay, so one question we have is, what do you usually do if you don't hear the question clearly? Okay, that's a very good question. So the thing is, if you don't hear it clearly, at the end of the day, especially in a contest, when it comes to table topics, for example, they're gonna they're gonna grade your speech. So you're gonna get marks for the quality of your speech, even if it doesn't relate to the topic directly. Okay, so let's say you hear one word. So for the example that I gave you guys, when it comes to that contest that I was in, division contest, I heard one word. I heard the word failure, and I know the topic was long. There was so many other words, but that was the one word I heard. So I formulated my whole speech about my experience with failure, and I spoke about that, and it worked out for me. I got first place in that contest. So as long as you are structuring your speech properly, as long as you have, sorry, I was just laughing here. Okay, as long as you follow all of those things where you have a structure and a plan and a guideline and your speech is organized and you deliver the emotion and the performance is there and all of that is there, even if it's not exactly related to the topic, it's something around it, then you're fine. If you don't hear it at all, you didn't hear anything, that's never happened to me, but I would personally suggest just launch into any speech. Just talk about anything. Talk about the fact that you did not hear the question. Just and don't reveal it from the beginning. So have you ever been in a situation where you're supposed to say something or do something and you end up not being able to, and in the moment you just have no idea what to say? Well, this is one of those situations and you know how to handle it, and this is a speech. You're speaking about it now, so you're delivering a speech with you're delivering a speech about something at least. So you're going to lose a bit of marks because you're away from the topic, but you're still delivering a speech. It's about the performance itself. No, Farhaz, I am not talking about the contest that I competed against you. I'm talking about 2018. I was in Amman. This is not you. This is a different contest. That one I heard the topic really well. Okay, what if we don't recollect a quote or personal story in a table topics contest? How to handle such topics? Okay, that happens a lot. That happened actually to me in DTAC this year. I could not for the life, I couldn't think of anything. Honestly, my mind completely blanked, okay? When it comes to that, try to throw it back at the audience. So to give yourself more time to think. Okay, so you get your topic. For me, it was I'll tell you the story. It happened in DTAC. Okay, so I asked, the topic was legendary leaders leave long-lasting legacies, and it was a bit of a lengthy topic, and my mind went completely blank. And I was like, okay, what do I talk about? What do I talk about? What do I talk about? And the few seconds that I had before I have to launch into my speech ran out, and I couldn't think of anything. So I threw it back at the audience. I went like, can you think of any legendary leaders? And I paused, and that gave me time to think of legendary leaders to say. And then I said the names of a few leaders, and then I was like, can you think what they all have in common? Okay, so again, when you ask questions, you're just giving yourself more time to think, and you're engaging your audience. So if even with these tactics where you're giving yourself more time to think, you can't think of a personal story, think of a story of somebody else. Think of, you don't have to use a quote. Think of, just talk at people. If it comes down to it, even in desperation, just talk in general. Talk about the topic, give your advice, give your thoughts about the matter. It doesn't have to be a personal story. Personal stories are great, but if you can't think of them, don't focus so hard on the story that you forget the rest of your speech and you get confused and then you get flustered and then you don't deliver and you don't perform. So if you can't think of a story, move away from it. Even if you give yourself extra time and you still can't think of one, move away from it, do something else. Talk about the topic in general, give your opinion about the topic, something like that. Last question that we're taking. Within the limited time, self-introduction or salutation is necessary. Introduction, within the limited time, self-introduction or salutation is necessary. I do not understand the question. Can someone explain it to me? Yeah, if you could rephrase the question, I did not understand it. I'm sorry. Or some other time. Okay, that's all the time that we've got today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you for your questions and your comments. I really had a great time with you, and giving it back to Division Director Jahangir Khan.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So today we were having our final session for the webinar series, Ignite Learning Through Webinars. It is a initiative by Division C in collaboration with the PQD initiative as well. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm really thankful to each and everyone who has been there with us throughout this journey. All the presenters have contributed a lot. I was there in NMOP yesterday, and I'm really happy to say three new members came to me and they praised the efforts which we are putting in for webinars. I would like to thank Toastmaster Mohamed Shukri, DTM Sujit Sukumaran, DTM Farhaz Farouk, Toastmaster Nisha, Toastmaster Robert Devota, Toastmaster Arafat Saleem, and our final presenter, Toastmaster Maryam Haji, for giving us their time and their knowledge about all these topics. I'm really glad that we were able to do all these sessions successfully. Yes, there were hiccups, but we learned from such experiences. So I'm really thankful to each and every one. I'm really thankful to District 20 for giving us the webinar ID to be used and to share the knowledge with each and every one of you. Thank you. And for the one final time for this year, I would like DTM Syra to have a few words. Yes.
Hello, everybody. This is real nostalgia hitting home. It's been wonderful interacting with you all over the last 2 months. Audience, do write into us with personal feedback, if at all any. We'd love to bring you more people and keep something like this going in the future, but only if you have the demand. So we're looking at a plethora of topics if you want it. So let us know. I'm so glad to be a part of this initiative. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much, DTM Jahangir Khan and PQD Mohamed Saleem. Ladies and gentlemen, have yourself a wonderful life ahead. For now, from Division C, District 20, it's a sign off.